Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Priti, as you may already know, and I'm a registered dietitian. Firstly, my apologies for being a bit late. It's just one of those conditions, wasn't the perfect health, but here I am. We'll get going with the presentation, and sorry about that. Thank you. Thank you. Alrighty, so we're going to be talking about the role of nutrition labeling that we come across every day and how that can impact our health and knowing what to do with it. So what comes to mind when you think of the nutrition label? Most of us has a picture of a nutrition label, the nutrition fact panel that comes to our mind and the visual of it to think about it. But there's much more to it than just that nutrition fact panel. There's 4 ways that nutrition information is provided on the food package. The first one, the most common that we see, is the nutrition fact panel. The next is the ingredient list, often neglected but does carry a lot of important information. The third would be the nutrition claims. A lot of this is coming more to the forefront now than ever. And the fourth, and not the least, would be the health claims. And I'm going to elaborate a little bit more about each of these 4 as we go through the presentation. So the nutrition fact panel, they are old, really old, more than a decade old. They have been around since 2005, and that's why we see them on almost every packaged food out there. It's a standard presentation, so you will see exactly the same label on most of the foods, with the information varying, of course. Easy to find, easy to read, very easy to compare, and they're on most prepackaged food. The only foods that would be exempt from this would be any fresh fruits and vegetables, raw meat and poultry, foods that are processed in the store. When they are baked or cooked at the point of sale, they're exempt from putting a label on them. And some other foods that contain very minimal nutrition, but we typically tend to consume them on a very daily basis, though, would be things like coffee, tea, and spices. And alcoholic beverages, not to forget. So I'll just give you a better visual and a deeper understanding of what a nutritional fact panel is, and we'll break it down into 6 pieces to understand each component better. So when you start reading it, it says start here, and I don't think I have a pointer, but where it says 1, that's where we start. And you know, one would think it's common sense to know what's the serving size, but a serving size is very different than what our portions would look like. And that does carry a lot of valuable information, because if you don't pay attention to that, you may think you're eating 100 calories, but you may end up eating much more. So I'll elaborate on that one a little bit more. Second would be the checking the calories. These two go hand in hand, and that's how you get more of your information rather than just one versus the other. The third is more about general health aspect, where we say limiting these nutrients would be better. Fourth would be get enough of these, we call them, because these are certain minerals and vitamins that are good for your overall health. Fifth is a footnote. A lot of people like this additional valuable information. I think it gets very intimidating the moment you get into it, but it's good to know what's there. And the sixth, which is, in my opinion, the most commonly used, is the person daily value. We'll get into each of these and talk a little bit more in detail. So as I said, the step 1 would be the start here as to what the serving size is. So I call it serving size versus portion size, because nowadays it's all about supersizing. Get a bigger portion. Should I just add a drink to it? Should I get an extra fries? What it is that you're going to end up eating versus what the label talks about is what is of value here. If the label talks about a small portion of French fries is going to give you 100 calories versus you supersize it, how much extra or how much extra step are you going? That comparison is going to give you the actual information of what nutrition you're going to get, not just from the label. So this is where the comparison is. If a brand cereal box would read that a cup of brand raisin cereal is going to give you X amount of calories, let's say 80 calories in a 1 cup of cereal, versus your regular portion of what you eat for breakfast would be 1.5 cup, then you should know that you're eating much more than what the label is reading. A lot of people would just look at the label and say, oh yeah, 100 calories, that's good enough, but we forget to kind of counter in the factor of your portion could be a little bit bigger than what the serving is. Step 3 is limiting certain nutrients. Now the nutrients that we are requested to be limited here are more the fat and breaking it down into certain subtypes of fat, the saturated fat and the trans fat, and the cholesterol and the sodium. These, as we know and we've heard multiple times from various healthcare professionals, are not the best for your health. Fat doesn't help you because it can lead to a lot of cardiovascular diseases, it can lead to obesity, it can lead to a lot of weight gain and overall unhealth. And that is why it's suggested that you kind of limit these factors. I'll get back to you. The second one would be the cholesterol, because it can lead to, again, a lot of heart diseases. And sodium, which can lead to heart disease and high blood pressure, are the ones that are suggested to limit. Get enough of these, I will get back to you. The get enough of these would be the vitamins and the minerals and the fiber, which again doesn't give you any actual nutrition, but does add a lot of value by increasing the bulk of your food and keeping your bowels regular. The sixth step would be the percent daily value. This is nothing but a percentage of how much of the nutrient do you get from what you should be getting in 100% from the day. So for an example, if you see the sodium in this product's label that I've shown here is 3%. So from the 100% that you are allowed, so to speak, in a day, this particular product in 3/4 of a cup is going to give you 3%. Now, the rule of thumb would be if anything is 5% or less, that's a good enough value. And if it's a 15% or more, that's a higher value. So for the nutrients that you want to be getting more of, try and aim for 15% or more. So that would be any of your vitamins, any of your minerals. Try and aim for the 15% and higher. And for any of the other nutrients like the fat and the sodium, which you need to limit, try and focus on the 5% or the less to be on the healthier side of a product. Ingredient list is the second type of nutritional information available on a package. And as I said, often neglected or often not paid enough attention to. But what it does is, it not only doesn't just list all the ingredients that have gone into this product, but it lists it in an ascending order. The product that has gone the maximum amount goes first. So whole wheat would be the first ingredient in this product. Second would be the wheat bran, and then so on and so forth. What it does is that if the first 5 ingredients that you see in the product seem more towards the unhealthier side, let's say the first ingredient was sugar, the second ingredient was flour, the third ingredient was oil, and then the salt. And you know, out of the 5, the 3 or the 4 were not the best ingredients. So you know that the product doesn't fall in the best, healthiest category. Anybody who has food allergies or intolerances, again, a very good source of information for you as well, because all the things would be listed here and you can depend on it to avoid your allergic reactions. Nutrient claim is a third type of information for nutrition available on a package. We see this more and more now than ever. Products do claim to be lower in salt, lower in fat, lower in fiber, lower in cholesterol, and so on and so forth. These are regulated terms that are used. Nobody's just allowed to create their own definition of it and put anything on the package. They are all, the Canadian Food Inspection Agency has a clear definition of when and how one can use these claims, and only then are they allowed to put them onto the package. Can be very good to guide when you're picking 2 products versus one. These are some of the definitions of these claims. Excuse me. Just as in no added sugar, and this is one of my pet peeves, because the moment my husband sees no added sugar in any product, he's like, oh yeah, sugar-free. It's not particularly sugar-free, it's just that there is no additional sugar added to it. It may contain the natural sugars that the food comes with. So that's something for us very important to know. High source of fiber. The food must have at least 4 grams of fiber for it to claim that, and which again comes into a very good source and important for your health, and so on and so forth. Health claims. These are more like, good for your brain, good for your heart strong, so on and so forth. These are more to lure people who have certain kind of a health condition to say, listen, if you're a heart health freak, then here I am, this is the product for you, sort of a thing. People who are dealing with diabetes, certain products will sort of call out for them saying, I'm a diabetic friendly product, pick me. All those claims would fall under health claim. These are some of the health logos that we often see on these products. So the three types of information that we just very briefly discussed here is the nutritional labeling. I'm going to start at the bottom of the pyramid. The nutritional labeling is a nutritional fact panel that we talked about, nutrient content claims, and the health claims. These are the three that we see on most packages. Research shows that health claims is the one that is always seen as the tip of what information is out there, whereas nutrition labeling is what has the most far reach of the information. A lot has changed, so we're going to talk a little bit briefly about the changes that have come our way, and more to come, I would say. So this year in 2017, we're going to see a lot of new food labeling changes come our way, and I'm just going to show you some of those important changes. So the original nutrition fact panel shown towards the left, that's what it's looked like. The new one is going to look a little bit different. So what they have emphasized is on the serving size, just so that it becomes more of a standard. Right now, if you stand in a store and you're trying to compare two cookies, one would say nutrition information for 2 cookies versus the other one would say nutrition information for 4 cookies. So you're like, which one am I looking at? How do I compare? Because the weight will be different, the amount of cookies will be different. So it's a bit confusing to make a decision at that point, because sometimes you just have to stand there and do the math. And when you're in a rush, you want to get your chores done, you want to get your groceries done, and you want to make the best choice, that may not be the right time to do the math. So sort of standardizing the serving sizes is going to help us make better decisions from that point of view. They're also putting the calories in bold so that people don't miss it and confuse it with other things. The daily values, the percent daily values have been updated. We did not have percent daily values for sugars in the past, which now has been added, just because we see that a lot more sugar is being consumed than ever before, and that is why a percent daily value for sugar has been added. And they've updated the list of the minerals as well. Potassium was never seen on the older label, which is now being seen just because it has a lot of value to add for people who have hypertension, and that is very widely being seen in the population. So just a little bit more about the serving sizes changing, which I see is great. Initially, yogurt A, let's say, had nutritional value for 100 grams. 1/3 of a cup, and the other yogurt would choose to give the nutrition information for half a cup. So half a cup, 1/3 a cup, a bit of a math needed there. Whereas now, no matter how big or small your container of yogurt will look like, you will have nutrition information for the same amount of yogurt. So 3/4 of a cup or 3/4 of a cup. So that's going to be like comparing apples to apples versus having 2 different bags of apples, so to speak. Same, a little bit more examples here. 8 crackers versus 8 crackers in the old package, where it was 28 grams versus the 14 grams. So you were like, okay, which one am I looking at? Versus now we have 6 crackers and 11 crackers, but the grams has been come within the 5-gram variation, so that we know we're eating the same volume or weight of food. Breads, we used to vary between 80 grams, and it's for us to go guess 80 grams as how many slices? A slice and a half, or 2 slices? Versus now, the standard is going to be each bread package is going to be the nutritional value for 2 slices. As I mentioned earlier, very briefly, updated mineral list. So potassium's up there, which is going to be a huge added value. And the percent daily value for these have been updated as well. The ingredient list has changed as well, which now will give much more information than it did in the past. They've sort of added these dots, so to call, between each ingredient so that we are separating them, because some of these names sometimes are so hard to read and we don't know what exactly that ingredient is. So this way there is a demarcation between the start and end, and you can Google it if you need to. They're elaborating a little bit. Earlier that you could just add sugar and, that would be the end of the story, but now we elaborate on what type of sugars have gone in and what it is. Font has changed a little bit, but that's more of the aesthetics. The information is what we'll try and focus on. Other types of nutrition information. I'm not sure how many of you have seen this logo. Any idea? No? How many people like to go to restaurants? So when you're at restaurants, try and look for this logo of informed dining. This is a government-run initiative where the government's coming forth and asking restaurants and food joints to come start a volunteer program where you can get your menu evaluated and analyzed. And just as, Starbucks or Tim Hortons would have an actual detailed information of all the nutrients in their food, a restaurant could have exactly the same analysis of their menu. Let's say you go and have a chicken Caesar salad at Cactus Club next door. It would actually give you the exact amount of calories, fat, protein, sodium, so on and so forth in that menu that a Cactus Club is offering. So that's of a very added value for people who are eating out and to be able to make informed choices. So what to do with this information? Information's great only when you're able to use it in a positive way. In our day-to-day lives, which tend to be pretty busy for all of us, it's very hard to eat in a perfect, 100% accurate way. And to be honest, being in the field of nutrition, I don't think there is one perfect, 100% accurate way either. So what we need to be doing is use this information to make the best possible choices. Follow the 80-20 rule. If you're able to make 80% good choices and the 20% slack off, then you know at least you've done 80% of the good during the day and your body will catch up for the rest. So eating healthy, as I said in a nutshell, has a lot of health benefits: weight management, diabetes control, blood pressure management, avoiding allergies and intolerances, and attaining a healthy body. So use the information on the labels and various type of information from the labels to manage your portion sizes, to keep track of the calories and carbohydrate goals, especially for people who have diabetes, to lower your sodium intake, to ensure that you get adequate amount of a lot of nutrients like fiber, minerals, and vitamins, and attain a healthy body. A lot of places for reliable information. The moment you get onto the internet these days, there is tons of information out there. Try and get to only the reliable sources and depend on that information. Canadian Nutrition File, very good resource to go to know exactly what it is that you get from particular food products. If you're ever wondering about tomato, let's say, and you're like, what do I get from tomato if I eat tomatoes two tomatoes in a day? Does it do any good to me? Get onto that file and you'll see exactly what a tomato can give you or what a bagel can give you, so to speak. So get onto that. And of course, you can always reach out to dietitians for your answers. Thank you. Any questions? Any comments?
Thank you very much. I know, it's always tough having to rush through those, but that was fantastic. So please put your hands together for this amazing woman, Priti Suri, everybody.
Thank you.
And we do, thankfully, to your speed on that one, we have a few minutes for some questions. So please put your hands up if you have one.
Go ahead.
Fantastic.
So when you were talking about like when you're breaking down the 6 things on the label, there was the section where you were talking about what to lower.
Yeah.
And so why is sugar not included in that section?
All right. Let's go back to it for a second. So your question is why sugar particularly is not included in it.
Is it being recognized increasingly as something that you should lower, or is it, yeah? So
I guess the idea is sugar is not included in lower or higher category. We're not recommending to get extra of it or to lower it because sugar is more of a very personal goal. A lot of people could be dealing with hyperglycemia and may want to up their sugar intake in every food they eat versus people who are actually having diabetes may not want to restrict their sugar intake yet manage and count how much they're taking. So it's more of a management goal rather than increasing or decreasing how much you're taking. And that is why it's not included in either or. Does that make sense?
All right, I think we have time for 2 more questions. So if you have a question, just raise that hand on up. Thank you. And throw something up too.
Thank you so much for your talk. It was really
No
good.
problem.
So I'm kind of excited to see the % daily value for the sugars is coming out soon. So I actually have 2 parts of that question. So when is this new labeling going to start?
Should come up this year, 2017.
Oh, excellent. So for % daily value for sugars, what is that % based on? So I'm assuming if you had a food, let's say it was 100% for the day, like how much sugar would that be?
I think, again, don't quote me on this, but from whatever data they have released so far, again, I'll go back, step back for this for a minute. The new labeling changes will start this year. Most food products will be given X amount of time to catch up and make the changes. So they'll slowly trickle in. When we start seeing the changes in the sugar, it's going to more depend on how much sugar of anybody who's on a 2,000 calorie diet should be taking, which should be 30% of the calories from that. That is how they back calculate and see how much sugar should be getting. If a food product is giving you 100% of your sugars from a serving, I would say keep away from it, right? As a rule of thumb. That being said, if you're looking for a dextrose tablet and you have, you're insulin-dependent diabetic, then you better make sure that that dextrose tablet has 100% sugar. But that's what they would depend on, and that's how I would evaluate it. Does that answer your question? Yeah.
So contrary to Mary Poppins, we should not have a spoonful of sugar with our medicine.
Absolutely not.
Okay, just wanted to get that out there. Do we have one last question? I think that wraps it up.
Awesome. Thank you very much. There we go.
Fantastic. Thank you, guys.